Welcome to another edition of HDPR Live. It is May 21st, 2020, and today I want to talk about e-commerce. Now, some interesting statistics have recently been released that kind of show the impact that COVID-19 has had on the heavy-duty parts industry and in relation to e-commerce. So this year, the last 9 weeks, from I guess it'd be the beginning of March until mid-May, if you compare 2020 to 2019, there's been a 42% increase in e-commerce, which sounds like a lot, but actually in other industries, the number's much higher. Now, it's understandable. People are home, they've been staying at home, and they're ordering everything they need, right? Everything from food, clothing, entertainment, to office supplies, and to other things that they may need. And they've been ordering automotive parts and heavy duty parts as well. So, why is it that the heavy duty parts industry has seen a smaller jump than other industries? Well, some people will say it's because the heavy duty parts industry is reliant heavily on relationships. And as one person I talked to recently said, boots on the ground sell heavy duty parts. I won't disagree that relationships are extremely important. Personally, I have benefited very, very much from the relationships that I have built with some amazing people in the industry. And anybody who's listened to the Heavy Duty Parts Report, they know how much I appreciate and value this industry. I love this industry. I love the people in it. They're filled with tenacious people, people who are just salt of the earth, and they're fantastic. Many of them are entrepreneurial as well. But I don't really think that it's just the strength of relationships that's holding people back from adopting the exceptional buying experience of taking out your phone, pressing a couple buttons, and having your parts show up an hour or 2 hours later if you're in a city, or if you're rural, perhaps the next day. I don't think it's just relationships. I think there's a fundamental difference between automotive and heavy duty. And I think that's why automotive has seen uh, more of an adoption of e-commerce than heavy duty has. The bottom line is that there are just a lot more cars and light trucks manufactured each year. The volume of vehicles manufactured and the way that they manufacture, let's say 100,000 of this one make. And the only difference is trim packages and the stereo and the kind of the comfort inside the vehicle, but the hard parts are virtually identical. It's not like that with work trucks. You order a heavy duty truck because you need it to do a specific job, and one guy ordering a Kenworth T800 is going to spec it differently based on what he's doing versus the woman who is ordering that same truck for a job that she's doing. So maybe the guy is doing inner city or long haul all over pavement, and the woman who's buying that same truck is doing logging or is in the oil field. And I've seen men and women in all kinds of different applications and fleets and companies and all kinds of different applications ordering very different trucks, but they're all the same, Kenworth T800, or they're a Mack or whatever truck that you're looking at. So there's definitely an issue there where there's a lot more custom spec to the way that trucks are ordered. But we still know that like 70% of the parts on a truck, even between, let's say, PACCAR and, I don't know, Kenworth, or sorry, rather Volvo and Mack, if you compare those two, like 70% of those parts are going to be pretty much the same, because the same OEM parts manufacturers are manufacturing, the slave valve is the same on that truck as it is on that make. It's just branded differently with a different part number. So yes, there are captive parts, but there is differences in specs, and that creates a lot more variance. And I think that's part of the issue. I don't think people really feel comfortable yet ordering on an e-commerce platform and ordering all their parts with confidence. So when you dig into the data, what did people in the heavy duty parts industry and automotive as an extension of the overall vehicle industry, what did they buy in the last 9 weeks, and what didn't they buy? So what they bought were a lot of the things that they know they have to replace, and they have an easy way of making sure that they're ordering the right thing. Filters, as an example. Hey, if you're putting miles on your truck, you got to change your filters. You also have to change your oil. The filters are relatively well supported by the manufacturers with cross references, and there's a lot of available data to figure out what you need. Most of my customers had the unit numbers written on the boxes of the filters in their stockroom. So once they had that Fleetguard or Baldwin or Donaldson number, they just wrote the unit number on it and they would just reorder that part over and over again for that unit. And they had confidence that that filter was correct. And so that's the kind of stuff that people have been buying with e-commerce over the last 9 weeks: filters, belts, windshield wipers. You know, I imagine even wheel end parts, because a lot of, especially if you're running S-Cam brakes, you either have Q plus or you've got Eaton brakes, right? And if you know that, then you could order those kinds of things with confidence. 3600A drum. So I think with the emergence of e-commerce, you're going to see kind of two things happen. I think you're going to see a lot of those kinds of parts that are easily identifiable. People know what they need. They're going to order them with confidence, and they're going to buy them from whoever gives them the best buying experience, which I'm telling you, and I'm going to say it over and over again. The best buying experience will be the first person who can take one of these and have someone with an app go, boop, boop, boop. Those are the parts I need. And it shows up a couple hours later if you're inner city, or the next day if you're rural. So that is who's going to win that part of the e-commerce game. And I also think that we could actually see a WD, a warehouse distributor, who really gets their house in order with e-commerce, and they could deliver skids of products, like skids of brake jumps and skids of brake shoes, even transmissions, 18-speed transmissions and things like that. Those parts you could buy in big quantity with an e-commerce platform, and that would work very well as well. What there's going to be a challenge with is when you have a fault code and you're really not sure what part you need. And that's, people are going to be very hesitant to buy parts using an e-commerce platform unless they can talk to somebody who has real expertise to be able to identify the part that they need. I work with Diesel Laptops, and they're working every day to try to solve that problem. They've already developed truckpartscross.com, 100% free. You can use it on your desktop and you can use it on mobile to cross-reference part numbers. But you got to have a part number to start with to use Truck Parts Cross. That's why they're building truckpartslookup.com, to be able to look up parts with confidence by year, make, and model like they do in automotive without needing a VIN or serial number. Truckpartslookup.com is active right now. You can go to it, not on mobile, just on the desktop, because it's in development. It's in open beta, but it's already up and running, and they've already proved that it's possible, and they're putting a lot of resources to make that happen. So I recommend that you go check out those two sites. And there's other people that are working on this problem. And actually, we heard a rumor today that the truck OEs are going to start releasing the VIN information to the general public. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but if that were to happen, then man, that would fundamentally change the industry. And so whether someone like Diesel Laptops cracks the VIN code and provides people with the information so they can buy with confidence, or the truck OEs themselves, for one reason or another, release that information to the general public, at that point, e-commerce purchases are going to explode and they're going to skyrocket because people will have confidence in buying all the parts that they need. So I really want you to think, regardless of where you are, if you're a manufacturer, if you work for a retail distributor or a WD, if you're in, the truck dealership world, if you're an owner operator, a fleet, a repair shop, a mobile mechanic, I want you to think about, where do you want to be as this, tsunami of disruption comes our way? Do you want to be down on the beach with your head stuck in the sand, convinced that what you're not doing doesn't work? Because just because you're not doing it doesn't mean it doesn't work. Or do you want to be up high on solid ground? Well, I think we all want to be up high on solid ground. And one thing that COVID-19 and these trends with e-commerce doesn't really address is the fact that people in our industry are retiring, and they're retiring en masse. I just sent out an email campaign to over 400 people on one specific email list, and I lost count at the number of emails that came back with automatic replies that said so and so had retired. When I look at the demographics of my audience, most of the people are in their 50s and 60s. some in the 30s and 40s, and almost none 18 to 30. That's a big problem. So even if the technology wasn't developed to solve the problem of buying using e-commerce with, buying with confidence, I think we would still see an increase in e-commerce, and people would just take their chances buying parts, best with the best information they had. And well, if it's wrong, it's wrong. We'll reorder. I think they'd have to go down that road, because that knowledgeable guy that you rely on, or knowledgeable lady that you rely on to help you find your parts, they might be retiring very soon. In my town, the man, his name is Hank, 50 years in the business. The store I used to work for, they've got a couple of really high quality young people working underneath of Hank, but they just don't have the experience yet. And as my mentor once taught me, he said, "How do you get 20 years experience in the business?" He said, "Come see me in 20 years." And he was absolutely right. You just can't, speed that up. So there's no way for us to take the new group of young people and train them up fast enough to meet the need of all the people leaving. Like that opportunity was in the late 90s, 2000s, and early 2010s. And we missed the boat on that for one reason or another. So I'm going to leave you with that. There's a lot going on, a lot of interesting information. Think about how you can continue to innovate and how you can adopt new technology to make your buying experience better for your customers, regardless of what part of the industry you're involved in. Thank you for tuning in to HDPR Live, today's edition. And please go over to heavydutypartsreport.com, jamieirvin.ca, bring you to the same place. Subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss out on any content. New podcast episodes coming out weekly on Monday. We also have blog articles and other videos that we publish, and we've got some great giveaways coming up in June, as well as we've got some new training opportunities for heavy duty parts that are in development. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you later. Bye.